The farm was in a hilly area, close to the mountains, just north of Bern. I traveled across the country by train, getting off in a small town close to the farm, where I'd arranged to be met by the farmer's wife. As I waited outside the station to be picked up, I imagined her to be a beautiful woman, and when she arrived, it turned out I'd got what I wished for. She was blonde and very attractive. A couple of years older than me, she spoke English with a charming Swiss accent that rolled over the words with the same rhythmic variation as the contours of the landscape we drove through in her battered red hatchback. The journey went with her, telling me all about her family and the farm, her 2 young sons, the 13 cows, the different fields and the small area of forest that ran down to the river. It sounded idyllic, especially given her innocently flirtatious manner of talking. Within weeks, the farmer's wife had fallen in love with me. I was wild, different, and free, at least when seen from the perspective of a farm on a Swiss hilltop. I had a sense she found me attractive, but the tipping point came when I asked her to cut my hair. She hadn't wanted to at first, as though aware of where it might lead, but I'd asked her again, and she'd finally relented. I enjoyed the sensation of her fingers running through my hair, and as I watched her in the mirror, I could almost see her let go of her inhibitions and give in to desire, looking at my hair, playing with it, touching it, trying to make it look good as she cut it. Her voice grew huskier, and her touch lingered. Soon she was leaving small notes for me in my room, tenderly drawn pretty flowers and declarations of love hidden in my wardrobe. In the barn, by the farmhouse where the cows were milked, was a large white-tiled washroom with a drain in the middle. This was the room where the milk churns were washed, and also where I showered after work. One evening after dinner, the farmer got up and went down from the kitchen to the barn, still with his work clothes on. Half an hour or so later, there was the sound of numerous shots. A short time later, he was back in the farmhouse kitchen. Calmly, he told us that he'd been down to the barn to round up all the young kittens he could find. There'd been many this spring, over 20, but he'd managed to get them all in a big white canvas sack before he'd taken it to the washroom and shot it with his gun until it no longer moved. He said it was the most humane thing to do, as the kittens would only have starved to death in the winter if they'd made it through the summer and autumn. Once towards the end of my time on the farm, the farmer had hired a machine for the day, a hydraulic axe that could be attached to the tractor. The day the machine came, heavy clouds pregnant with rain closed in, so we could see neither the sky nor the nearby mountains. One after the other, the clouds would burst and spill the cold rain they'd carried in heavy drops that fell down upon us. Occasionally we could hear thunder and sometimes see flashes of lightning. Despite the weather, the job still had to be done. At the bottom of the hill, where the fields sloped down to the edge of the forest, rows of tree trunks and thick branches cut to half-meter lengths lay waiting to be split, so they could dry and be used as firewood. With no unnecessary talking, our labor was divided. I brought the raw cuts of trunk or branch to the axe. The farmer controlled the buttons sending the blade up and down. The wood I brought would split with a loud crack, leaving small, manageable pieces that would dry, then be burned to give warmth in the coming winter. By that time, I'd be long gone. Now it was just a matter of days before I left. The rain continued to fall, and the axe went up and down all day. Each length of trunk I brought him was an apology offered for my actions. Each time the axe went down and split it to pieces, my apology was rejected. After 2 months, I'd decided to leave, planning to visit a friend from my time in Israel that lived in Denmark. At lunch, during my last whole day on the farm, the farmer and his wife had asked what I wanted to do my final evening. I said I'd like to spend it with both of them, as I'd enjoyed my time and their company and wanted to remember it in a good way. After dinner, they both went up to put their kids to bed. As usual, before the farmer came down alone, having changed back into his work clothes. He said he'd asked his wife what she wanted for my last evening, and she'd said she wanted to spend it alone with me. As a consequence, he was going out to plough his fields. This despite the fact it would soon be dark.